we set the pace for those below us to follow.
Meet Dr. George Hagan, co-founder of Strandton Limited in Ghana.
That has been the handicap of most governments. If Ghana had the same source of funding as the UK, I would really be on top. At a point, I realized that I had to come back home.
That is huge.
It was taking the roads out of the city center. The community roads should also be improved. Businesses can thrive. I don't know if I want to talk about them. I think it still holds a record for a record. It brought healthcare to the community. That's an interesting question. In my mind, whilst the whole land is crying for development, the moment the road is constructed, it becomes congested. There will be better provision. We are strict about what should be done. But as to whether it's worth it, I think we keep asking ourselves.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Golda Show, where we discuss all things business, entrepreneurship, and personal development. Today, I'm joined here with Dr. George Hagan, managing partner of Strandton Limited, a private company within Ghana that facilitates project management with a lot of the various projects going on in Ghana today. Dr. George Hagan, welcome to The Golda Show. I'm honored to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your company and what it is that exactly you do within Ghana.
Okay, so Strandton Limited is a privately owned company funded by myself and my partner, Nana Medipe. We are into civil engineering project management. We do airports, we do roads, we do commercial buildings, and we do all other infrastructure projects. So yeah, we are into a lot of things.
So what inspired you to actually venture off into creating your own company and specifically focusing on Ghana?
Right. So you might not know, but I started off from university, had BSc in building technology, and then went into roads. From there, I went to the UK. So I've been in UK for over 20 years. So that's where most of my experience has been. At a point, I realized that I had to come back home because I'm from Ghana. And so to give back. And I thought that, yes, with my partner who was also in the UK for quite some time, he came first and got the business started, and then I joined just to give back to where we got our training from. So it's just a payback time for us.
Oh, it's payback time.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. So what was one of your first projects that you worked on within Ghana?
Right. So before I left Ghana, I was with Limesbau, and this a German company founded in the 80s, came to Kumasi and built almost all the roads in Kumasi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was before I left for the UK. When I returned, one of the first projects that I was involved with was the Kumasi International Airport.
That is huge.
It was massive. It was good.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And how did you guys even get to that place where you're able to secure a contract to work on such a huge project such as the Kumasi Airport?
Right. So as you know, we are a project management company. So this project was actually awarded to ADK company. It's a consortium, and then they solicited our services to provide the project management aspect of it for the delivery of the project. So that's where our company, in association with ADK, came in.
Oh, wow. So what were the major challenges that you encountered within that specific project?
I would say probably managing the people.
Okay.
So this is a foreign company that came to Ghana to deliver this special project. It's one of the best, I think, in Ghana as far as airport infrastructure is concerned. So initially we had to it was an EPC, which is engineering, procurement, and construction project. So we had to get our head around trying to mirror the employer's requirement with what the EPC contractor was delivering. And that was where the challenge is, to make sure that the employer gets exactly what expected, and then the contractor also delivered what it should as per their submissions or their provisions. So getting the two balance was always going to be a challenge, but somehow we managed to work as a team to deliver the projects.
Okay, and then how long was this project specifically for?
So this project started 2018, I think, 2018, 2019. And they were in two phases. So phase 2 and phase 3. It was in total, I think, about 3 years or more.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
In order for the whole project to be
Yes. The
completed.
first was 24 months, and I think the second was about 18 months. Yeah.
Okay, so did you guys work on different parts at one time?
No, they were supposed to be sequential.
Okay.
But at the point we brought the phase 3 into the phase 2 when we hadn't completed. So
Oh,
it was a seamless delivery,
okay.
which was very good.
Okay. So walk us kind of through how you structure your project when it comes to preparing it for a client.
Okay, so project management starts from inception and goes to closure. So to start the project, you need to have an understanding of what the client or employer wants. And that will mean having a discussion with the employer to glean from the employer what actually he needs. And then once that is done, you bring a team together, prepare your initial conceptual designs, and then also get some corresponding preliminary estimates to meet the employer's budget. And once that is done and the employer gives a go ahead, you move to the next stage. And then the next stage will be further development of the designs and further development of your costs. So that is how usually it works out. And it depends on the type of project that the employer wants. If it's a straightforward traditional project, then you have to finish all the designs before the contractor comes in. But if it's one of these consolidated, integrated projects, then the contractor comes in at an early stage to be able to deliver the project to the employer's requirements. So that's how usually it works out. So it involves a series of presentations and meetings just to get to a final scope that both parties are okay with. And then once the course is agreeable between the parties, it's signed off and then it starts.
So I know there's different methods in which are used within project management, such as agile. Did you have to use those methods within your projects?
Okay, so in terms of construction project, mainly it's been the waterfall approach, so quite sequential. But lately, the use of agile is becoming common. So your stand-ups that is used in agile is now being used in a waterfall project where you bring the team together to fish out issues and try to resolve them as quickly as possible. Because one of the problems with construction project and in that sense, infrastructure project has been that it's always delayed, over budgeted, and then in terms of the quality, you have question marks. So employing such views or such issues from agile helps to deliver a better project in that sense. So yes, particularly the stand-ups are quite good in the use of construction project, which previously was not heard of.
Oh, interesting. So now it's like a combination of the two.
Yes.
That's kind of where the industry is going.
Yes. So it's kind of a hybrid.
Okay.
Yes. It's not wholly agile and it's not wholly waterfall. It's a hybrid to deliver to the employer's satisfaction.
Okay. So within project management, I know you focus on contracts. So can you kind of walk us through how to structure a contract and the major things that you look out for when you're dealing with a client?
Yeah. So in terms of contract, it depends on what the employer wants or the client wants. So if a client has funding sorted, let's say, no need for any help from anywhere. If the client has something in mind in terms of the design that they want to deliver, let's say an iconic structure, and they've solicited their own design service, then you go to your traditional form of contract and in Ghana, most of the contracts are churned out through the FIDIC suite of contracts. So what you do then is select one that best suits the employer.
Okay.
Lately, we've veered into design and build, and then in rare cases, you would have your public-private partnerships coming in. But mostly it has been the design and build, and then your EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction project. So it's dependent on what the client has in mind. If you want to shorten the process where you don't have to wait till design is completed before the contractor comes in, then you bring in the contractor at an early stage and go for either a design and build or go for an EPC, where the contractor initially arranges for the funding, and then the employer takes over and makes the payment. So it depends on the situation. But it's becoming more common now, especially for public projects, that you get design and build contracts more than the traditional. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So, at being a founding partner, what does your role essentially entail, and how do you drive the company's vision? Because you're doing a lot of these big projects that are shaping essentially the skyline of Ghana. So, what specific thing drives the company's vision?
Quality and value. We come from a background, myself and my partner, we come from a background where we've delivered projects in the UK. And we've learned from grassroots how projects should be procured and projects should be delivered. And what we've seen in Ghana is that in terms of quality, there is room for improvement. So that's where we come in. We try to give to the employer a good sense of what value actually means. Value in terms of not paying too much for what you are getting, and then also not making unnecessary waste. So we look at the commercial side and matches against the actual technical or design side, so that the employer is able to get the best of both. So that is what we come in, having templates that work across projects, and also deliver projects that or deliver services that match developed country standards. So that's what we do mostly.
So moving on onto your other projects, your Kumasi Accra Road. Talk to us and walk us through how the dualization of that basically enhances the economic activity within the region of Ghana.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but most of the roads in Ghana, they go through villages and towns. And that in itself presents a lot of issues. High congestion on the roads. So this particular project is taking the roads out of the city center.
Oh, okay.
Through a bypass, so that it connects to Kumasi. It's one of 8 projects that is currently being done.
Okay.
We are involved in 2 of them, 2 of the lots, and that is the southern bound and then the northern bound section of the Konongo project. So in terms of the community, okay, let me start with in terms of the contribution to the nation, because once you waste time in traffic, it's just economic waste.
Yeah.
So just the provision of that will enhance economic activity within the country, and also for the community, they're able to, wherever there is infrastructure, they build alongside that infrastructure, so it opens up the place. So that is how such projects contribute to the communities, apart from the fact that just the sheer economic activity associated with construction brings to the immediate environs, which is immediate. In terms of long term, it improves businesses. People are able to commute at a shorter times, and also more businesses are able to set up within the area. So that is quite good. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned you're taking the roads out of the cities, not the cities, sorry, the small villages. Do you find that you will want to expand back into that area to develop those roads for those small villages, or do you think that's something that shouldn't really be focused in on?
No, I think that should also continue because these are national roads. The community roads should also be improved so that businesses can thrive and then the communities can also open up. So the two should go hand in hand. And fortunately in Ghana, you have an agency that manages your national roads, different from the agency that manages the town or assembly roads. So they're able to plan. If they plan it well, then there's no need one having to be done at the expense of the other. The two can go hand in hand.
So, yeah. Okay, I understand that. So what are some of the standout projects from your portfolio currently, and what makes them unique in terms of design and execution?
I don't know if I want to talk about my first PPP project actually was in the UK, the Pinderfields and Pontefract project. So at the time, it was one of the flagship projects of the Blair administration. And it stands out because it was one of the first PFI projects at the time and was delivered within a very, I think it still holds a record for quick delivery.
Wow.
Yeah. And it brought healthcare to the community, which hitherto were spread in various areas. And the Penderfields one catered for acute hospital deliveries, while the Pontefract dealt with the accident emergency and then outpatient needs. So once the projects were completed, the community really benefited from that massively because they could go to one place and get all the services that they needed. Another one would probably be the Kumasi Airport, which is one of the very good projects currently in Ghana. Where the design was good. The contractor, known as the Contractor Limited, the contractor is also Contractor Limited from Brazil, had a design that was really good and fit the environment in Kumasi. You know, Kumasi, it's more a royal city, so they had to do everything to match that status. And we, along with the contractor, managed to get that project out, and it's there for everybody to see now. It's one of the best in the nation.
So, yeah, it definitely is. I went there myself. I had to come through to get to Accra, and it was a very, very nice airport. So you also actually worked on another airport, Sunyani Airport. And tell us about that. So that underwent extensive rehabilitation. So walk us through that kind of project.
Okay, so for Sunyani, just like Kumasi, Sunyani is an existing airport. So it was just an upgrade in terms of the infrastructure, just upgrading the terminal and then also doing some work on the runway and providing some additional aprons. And once that was done, I think one of the airlines is now using that. So taking people from Accra to Sunyani, so shortening their travel times, and also as you do with all projects, improving the businesses around the Sunyani enclave. So yeah, that was smaller compared to Kumasi, but it's still one that was needed to help the economy there.
Okay, and where else do you find that in Ghana we need another airport where there's thriving, let's say, population within a specific area where you think another airport should be placed in?
That's an interesting question because airports should, in my mind, there should always be a business case for an airport to be built. So one place that has been touted a lot quite recently is one along the western central region of Ghana, because that is a tourist area. So there's I think the current government even made a promise that they would build one between Central and Western region, just to take care of that tourist service or provision in that area. So it's difficult to really make a claim that yes, without doing your feasibility study to know the business case for an airport because we also know that there are some airports in Ghana that haven't been used. They've been built, but they haven't been used yet. And so, and it involves a lot of capital. So before one can actually go into it, there should be good feasibility to actually ensure that the return is one that merits the investment. However, it could also be a decision by the government, which I think it's all they will be within their right to do, to cite such project just to elevate a particular area and to bring businesses to that area. And it need not be passenger airport. It could even just be an airport where aircraft maintenance are made just to boost the economy of the nation. So there's different considerations that could go into that, but all that should be based on a sound feasibility and a purpose.
Okay, so you mentioned the government has a role to play in these projects as well. What about projects that you have within the healthcare industry? Are those projects facilitated by the government as well, or are they private companies?
Both, but mainly by government. Most infrastructure projects in Ghana are done by government because obviously they involve a lot of money, and private people they would always want good returns on their investment.
Okay.
The government would have social reasons as well for providing these infrastructure projects. So all the projects that, not all, but most of the projects, roads, airports, rail, and the sort are provided by the government, and they actually look for funding to then start such projects. And that is how it works. You would have other private sector investors coming in, especially for hospitals, where they dedicate. Even with those, some of them come in with the support of the government.
Okay.
Because you always need government to also give you the certificate or the license to be able to operate.
Okay.
So there's this relationship that would always happen, I guess, between the private and then the public in terms of healthcare provision in Ghana. So that's how it works out. But yeah, we have in certain areas where private people have come in to deliver healthcare.
Okay. So could you share an example of a PPP project that you've managed and the impact that it's had on its community as well?
I think I'll cite again the Pontefract, Penderfields and Pontefract one, because that was one of the key project, PPP, PFI project that I was involved in the UK. And this brought a lot of relief to the area, the community in Wakefield, where Penderfield was, and then Pontefract, where because of the project, all the services were co-located, and therefore you could go to one place and have all your needs met, which hitherto wasn't like that. You have to move from one structure to the other, and then getting things met became an issue. And of course, it was also a bit dilapidated. So such a new project that consolidated everything at a place was really massive for the community, and it really helped that community. And that's what PPP is supposed to do, where the public provide, let's say, land or some basic infrastructure, and then the private provider comes in to augment the provision of the public sector to deliver a project that benefits the community or the society.
Okay. And how would you compare the projects within the UK in comparison to Ghana? Is the UK currently facing a decline in the amount of projects that are being facilitated in comparison to Ghana?
There is always opportunity in Ghana because it's a developing country. So the opportunities are massive. Whereas in the UK, it's a developed country, although they have also massive needs in terms of infrastructure. But I think the bottom line is who has the funding to do
It's
the
the
project.
funding.
Yes, the funding. Because if Ghana had the same source of funding as the UK, I'm sure that in terms of infrastructure provision, Ghana will really be on top. But UK has more access to and at a cheaper rate in terms of funding than Ghana has. So I would always say Ghana because I think that the opportunities here are quite massive and also the needs here are higher compared to that of the UK. The UK are replacing some of their already established development, whereas Ghana is completely green and they are now finding ways to even start projects to meet huge communities that have nothing. Funding is one of the biggest challenges because whilst the whole land is crying for development, there is no matching funding to do that. So it becomes if you take, for instance, a road construction, every new road you would think opens up a place, but the moment that road is constructed, it becomes congested overnight.
Yeah.
Because there are so many bad roads. People see a good road and they want to come.
I see.
On that good road. So there is always room for projects to be built in Ghana. So I think once funding is solicited, I think there will be better provision. And that has been the handicap of most governments in our part of the world.
Tell us a little bit about your leadership style within your company and when it comes to facilitating projects.
Okay, so we adopt a leadership approach where we set the pace for those below us to follow. So because we are a project management company, we are strict about what should be done in terms of project management. So we have our templates, we have how we respond to issues, and also have this collaborative approach where it is such that if one person is out, the other can easily pick up that role and deliver. So we have an inclusive approach to delivering a project and the way we do it mostly in Ghana is that you have associates. So we are project managers and then we also provide commercial service as well. And then you would also have other associates coming in with their engineering services. So having to manage all of that becomes our responsibility. So how do you get a team who are independent on themselves to work together on a project to deliver? And that is where we try to coordinate their services and also champion what is required as far as the expectation of the employer is concerned. So yeah, basically we adopt a collaborative approach to leading or to leadership in this sense.
Okay, and did you pick up a lot of those skills from your previous positions when you were working for other companies? And then do you transition it over? Because entrepreneurship and being an employee is two different things, right? So did you find yourself in a very uncomfortable environment where you said, okay, now I have to start implementing what I used to take from other bosses?
Yeah, personally, it's been my training because once I came out of the university and I was employed with this German company, the approach is quite different from the English in that with the Germans, once you have your degree, you are not put into any specialist role. You go through all the department to learn everything in the trade. So for somebody like me who came out as a building technologist with commercial expertise and also construction background. I went through design, I went through surveying, and I went through material. So by the time I was probably 3-4 years in, I could do all that. In fact, my first project that I had, I did all the surveying for that project, and I had to set it out, how to order the materials. So by the time I finished the project, it was completely one that is accredited to me.
Oh, wow.
So that is the approach that we've used wherever we've been. That if you train people to understand what they have to do, then when the time comes for them to take the lead or to manage, it becomes easier for them. At the beginning, it might be a bit uncomfortable, but once they get confidence and understand what the issues are, then it becomes quite easy then to for them to continue. So that's, yes, so it's been my training, and that is how we try to also put across to our employees.
Did you grow up in an environment where you saw your parents pursuing entrepreneurial endeavors?
Oh, yeah, certainly. So my dad was an accountant with Ghana Highways Authority, but at the same time, he had his own shop where he was selling medicine.
Oh.
So he had a small shop. And that is what, at a point, he had to quit his job and then do that full time. So he was trading and doing that kind of business. My mom also had a small shop as well that she was trading in. So yeah, that has been in
It's
the
like
family a
inevitable.
bit. Yes, certainly. So it's interesting that along the line, I also had to quit former employee job and then go into a completely different private setup. Yeah.
And describe the first beginning years of your company. What were the trials and tribulations when you were starting that?
So you start from nothing.
Yeah.
Really. It's just your name.
Yeah.
And people that know you. And I think we can be thankful to God that when we started, we had people recommending us to take certain roles.
Okay.
And I think with time, we've been able to bring confidence to our client and also then have repeat business with our client and other new opportunities that have come up. But for probably 2 to 3 years, nothing was coming in.
Wow.
So we had to depend on our own
Wow.
savings at the time.
Oh, wow.
And then, yeah, after that, we then started having some jobs coming in.
Wow.
So it's not been that rosy. Yeah, there's been a few ups and downs, but overall, I would say, yeah, it's been worth it.
It's been worth it.
Yeah.
So the 3 years of struggle were worth it. Are there times where you thought, is this really worth it? The second year, the third year, or?
Yeah, I suppose it's with everything that you do. You have to be sure yourself that this is what I want for myself, so that at the least challenge, you don't back out. So because we were determined that, yes, it will work, whenever we encountered a situation, we just thought that, yeah, it's just a matter of time and it will be resolved. But as to whether it's worth it, I think we keep asking ourselves every day. And that is something. It's not a bad thing per se, but it's also one that helps you to find new innovative ways of doing things and be open-minded about what else you could do to make the situation better. So that's how we take it. Yeah.
Okay, I like that answer. So tell us a little bit more about the current projects that you have ongoing right now. How many do you have at a time?
So currently we have about 4 projects ongoing. 1 building and 3 road projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you manage all of them?
So we have site reps.
Okay.
So what we do is we go around. We're still managing it at the top, but we have reps on site that take care of the day-to-day activities on the site. And if there any issues come up, we quickly try and resolve them.
So, what is your ultimate goal for your company, and what legacy do you really want to leave behind?
So for us, we want to establish a company that will last beyond us. So we have in place, or we have in mind, a succession plan.
Okay.
Not based on family members, but based on people who are competent and who are committed to do what is right, so that even beyond us, the company will still thrive and still have the same quality delivery that the founders had in mind. So that is how we plan to get this project moving.
Okay. All right. So we're going to stop right here and we're going to go over into the rapid hot seat where we're going to ask Dr. George Hagan fast questions about his industry. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go for it.
Okay. All right. So we are going to begin, starting off with the first question. Which project has been the most challenging but rewarding for you?
Certainly, it would be the first PPP PFI project, the Pontefract, Pinderfields and Pontefract project, because that was for me a learning curve.
Okay.
It was one of the first PPP PFI project I've done. Prior to that, all of the other projects were both standard, traditional projects. So that was the one that was quite challenging, because you had to learn new approaches to delivering projects. So
okay, and describe the impact of infrastructure in one word.
Everything: economic, social, and it empowers their communities. So that's it.
Okay.
In one word, I would say economic.
Economic. If you could manage any dream project, what would it be?
Probably railway in Ghana.
We can talk about that. I've actually wanted to learn more about that. Okay. If you could work on a project outside of Ghana, where would it be and why?
Haven't thought about it, but it probably would be in America.
Okay. Okay. And who is a historical figure in engineering or leadership that you'd want to collaborate with?
Oh, yeah. George Stevenson.
George Stevenson? Okay.
George Stevenson was a pioneer for rail. So, yeah.
Okay.
I will probably do that.
Okay. And last question. If you could introduce one policy to accelerate infrastructure development in Africa, what would it be?
There should be a construction act.
Okay.
I think there should be a construction act backed by parliament, and also one that can be enforced.
Okay.
Where every project would have funding before it starts.
Okay.
So that people involved are not desperate, or projects don't end because there are no funding. Okay.
Well, that brings us to the end of the hot seat, the rapid fire questions. Thank you so much for that. I actually wanted to jump right back into the railroad that you just mentioned there. I think that's a huge thing within Ghana that should be discussed. Is that something that's underway, or it's been hinted at a few companies?
Yeah, that's not been our field yet, but then I know for the past few years, I think certainly for this current government or the outgoing government, there have been some real projects, certainly for the Eastern Corridor and then in the West as well. But I think the pace is too slow. It's one that the country relies too much on road infrastructure.
Okay.
But the productive areas of Ghana need rail as a complement to be able to bring in a lot of goods from one end to the other. Of course, the funding for roads are quite huge, and that is probably why it also takes a longer time. But growing up, I think we had more rail lines than we have now.
Oh, wow.
A lot of railroads are disused as we speak, because I remember when I had an interview at Takwa School of Mines after my sixth form, and I took train to Takwa at the time, but I don't think it's even there now. And there were train services in Kumasi to Accra almost on a regular basis. from Kumasi to the western, and then there are a lot of real provision services around, but it's kind of died naturally, and we haven't had any good replacements. So it's overdue as far as I'm concerned that we should have more railway projects in the country.
Yeah, especially coming from the UK where the transit system, everything is so connected.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely,
you can go to Rome or
Yeah.
Italy or Paris.
Yes, just under the sea.
It's just under the sea.
And then you are there, yes. We need it. And it shortens travel as well. Unlike roads where you could easily be clogged up by just sheer number of cars or vehicles. With rails, it's all timed out and you can easily make it within a short period of time. So it's high overdue. For a country that is developing, I think it's something that we should look into and seriously consider augmenting the transport sector with roads.
Okay, I love that answer. Well, we're just going to wrap up here, but to ask you the last and final question, what piece of advice would you give to any up and coming entrepreneur or someone who's looking to venture off into project management?
I would say that not necessarily project management, but I would say in life, don't be afraid to take a step. I think if you want to go into project management, have an open mind and then take the right step. Never give up at the first instance of failure. If anything, you have to fail very quickly so that you get the experience to do right. So people shouldn't be so afraid to take the right decisions or the right step. And also get mentors. Have people who can speak into your life and also guide you, because there's no point reinventing the wheel. Most of the things have already been done. So get people, contact people that you think are aligned with what you want to do, and then get the necessary help.
Amazing. Well, that brings us to the end of our interview with Dr. George Hagan. Where can we stay connected with you, and where can we find more information about your company?
Okay, so our company is Strandton Limited. You can get us on our website, and also if you have any information, just send it to info@strandtonllp.com. In terms of telephone, it's just 00233 261 815 414. So, yeah, we are here to provide a service.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. George Hagan. We appreciate your time. It's been an honor to have you on the Golda Show today.
It's been my pleasure. It's been a great time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Thanks so
everyone.
much. Bye.